India by Joseph Typhon Thaler, 1785. Safiya-i Chahal Nasai Bahadur Shahi by the daughter of Bahadur Shah, late 17th or early 18th century. Report by Montgomery Martin, a British surveyor, 1838. The East India Company Gazetteer by Edward Thornton, 1854. Hadika-i Shahada by Mirza Jan in 1856. In this relatively peaceful period, there were repeated attempts to recapture the Janmasthan. 5 such attempts were made by Baba Uddhav Das, Baba Ramchandra Das and others during Nasiruddin Haidar's and Wajid Ali Shah's rule. In the year 1857, one Amir Ali declared a jihad and attacked the site of Hanuman Gadhi with 170 men. However, they were defeated and the jihad wiped out. Then came the Indian War of Independence of 1857, when the Hindus and Muslims fought side by side against the British imperialists. This time, another Amir Ali, a Maulvi, and the leader of the rebels of Awadh convinced the native Muslims and decided to hand over the Janmasthan site to the Hindus. However, the British imperialists, using their Machiavellian tactics, arrested Amir Ali and Baba Ramchandra Das and hanged both of them by a tamarind tree, which still stands in Ayodhya as a mute witness of the tragic event. In the Encyclopedia of India by the then Surgeon General Edward Balfour, it is mentioned that there were 3 mosques on the site of the temples. These were the Janmasthan, the Swargadwar and the Tretaka Thakur. We have seen earlier some books and authors. Apart from these, there are other sources of reference which are also worth looking at. Let us have a look at them. These are the Fasana-i Ibrat by Mirza Rajab Ali Beg of Surur, 1867. Tarikh-i Awadh by Sheikh Muhammad Azmat Ali Kakorvi Nami, 1869. A historical sketch of Faizabad by P. Carnegie, 1870. The Gazetteer of the Province of Oudh, 1877. Zia-i Akhtar by Haji Muhammad Hassan, 1880. The Faizabad Settlement Report, 1880. The Imperial Gazetteer of Faizabad, 1881. And also the Gumashte Halati Ajodhya Awadh by Maulvi Abdul Karim. The Court Verdict of 1886 by Colonel F.E.H. Amir in Muhammad Ashgar's petition, in which he states, after a visit to the site,
"It is most unfortunate that a masjid should have been built on land especially held sacred by Hindus. But as that event occurred about 356 years ago, that is in 1530, it is too late now to remedy the grievance. All that can be done is to maintain the parties in status quo."
In 1934, serious Hindu-Muslim clashes broke out in and around the mosque. Many people were killed in the riots and the structure itself was severely damaged. In December 1949, the Hindus held large gatherings of Ramayana recitation in and around the site. On 23rd December 1949, the place was reconsecrated for Rama worship. Between 1975 and 1980, archaeological survey was conducted in and around Ayodhya under the guidance of the then Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India, Mr. B.B. Lal. The eminent art historian, Mr. S.P. Gupta, was also a member of this team.
We did excavations at 3 spots right around the Bauri Masjid. 2 of these were to the west of the Bauri Masjid and 1 to the south of the Bauri Masjid. And our trenches were hardly 2 meters away from the outer wall of the Babri Masjid. So in fact, almost touching it. Now here is a photograph of the mosque and the trench on this western side. This is the wall of the mosque. This is of course the peripheral wall, a sort of retaining wall. Now from here downwards, we have different levels. Say the early medieval levels, the Gupta levels, Kushan levels, Shunga levels, and further to the 3rd, 4th century BC. In the deep trench here, which you cannot see right now, we went further down about 7 or 8 feet. And in the lowest levels in this trench, we found material such like the northern black polished ware and other things, which go back to about 700 before Christ. This is the lowest deposit, and this probably is the time of Lord Ram, because similar evidence comes from other places like Shrangverpur, Bharadwaj Ashram, Chitrakoot, which are associated with the Ram story. And a similar trench was put on the southern side of the mosque, where again we went to the 7th century BC level, confirming what we get on the other side. In fact, we excavated at 14 places at Ayodhya, so that we did not miss the lowest levels, and we got the same kind of evidence. Well, as I told you, we put a trench on the southern side of the mosque. What you see in this photograph, this is the wall, outer wall of the mosque. This is a recent surface accumulation, but ancient surface is here. As we went about 25 to 30 centimeters below it, we came across a series of pillars. You can see 1, 2, 3, and this one is gone. Another row can be seen sticking out of this section. Now these brick bases are likely to have carried the stone pillars that you now see in the mosque. These are oriented along the cardinal directions, that is north, south and east, west. Likewise, in the mosque, you see these pillars, they are also oriented along the cardinal direction, east, west and north, south. These pillars carry typical Hindu motifs which are found on the pillars in temples. There are sculptures also on them. And stylistically, these pillars are datable to a period around 1100 AD. So there is enough circumstantial evidence to connect these stone pillars with the bases which we saw in the previous photograph, brick bases found in the excavation. And if further work is done, there is every chance of getting more evidence from underneath the mosque, which will show the connection of these pillars, pillar bases, and the actual pillars. The distance also is of importance, which is more or less the same. Now, you see this stone pillar. The base here is slightly smaller than the base that you have of this brick foundation. And this is as it ought to be, because normally, for the sake of strength, you have got a much wider base than the base of the actual pillar.
The masjid was built over existing Hindu structure. Why were the columns left exposed?
That happens. Sometimes, if you see in various places where this has been done, planes and parts of columns still stand. In fact, in Delhi itself, there is the mosque Quwwatul Islam. Many of the pillars are still standing there, and over that a dome has been put. And this was nothing unusual. You see, when the Muslim invaders came, they naturally wanted to, show their strength. And as a result of that, there is an inscription in this mosque, Delhi mosque, known as Quwwatul Islam, that as many as 27 temples were destroyed to produce this mosque. And the very word Quwwatul Islam means the might of Islam. The whole idea was that the invader must impress upon the invaded that they are powerful. And a sort of a terror situation was created by it, which perhaps any invader might do. Now, interesting thing is that this is the destruction level of these pillars. And it is from this layer that we found the glazed pottery, which I'll show you presently. And the layer which has the material of destruction,